Hi guys, and welcome to my 60-second video. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are a return subscriber, or hello if you are new, my name's Adrina. I'm an Australian teacher and mum, currently on a break at the moment, trying to figure out this whole teacherpreneur online space, selling my teaching resources and clip art on Teachers Pay Teachers and online. Today's video we are talking about making clip art in PowerPoint, and I'm not going to hold you any longer because I want to jump straight into it, as I want to talk about some questions that I've recently received here on YouTube, and I want to try and do my best to explain all the things that you might need to consider or know about when you are creating clip art in PowerPoint. So let's just go over to my computer and let's chat. Hello clip art friends. Today's video we are going to be talking about making clip art in PowerPoint. So recently I have received a few more comments than usual about making clip art in PowerPoint, and I wanted to address some of those questions for you guys. And I know in the past I've also received some questions that I haven't been able to fully answer. So I really wanted to go through in this video and kind of break down some of those things that you might need to know if you are wanting to make clip art in PowerPoint. So before I get started, I just want to apologize about my voice. I am a little bit croaky at the minute, so sorry about that if it is a bit hard to listen to me talk, but I really wanted to get this video out, so I'm just doing my best here. So before I get into it, I just want to say too, what I'm talking about here through making clip art in PowerPoint, I'm no expert, but I have had a lot of time where I have played around in PowerPoint, and I have done a lot of trial and error through this program and creating things on here. And these things that I'm talking about are from my own personal experience, but I have found that work the best for me. And so take that how you want, but I'm just letting you guys know this is just from my personal experience, from trial and error basically. So let's get started. So canvas size. So when you're starting to create clip art in PowerPoint, people have asked me like, what canvas size should I use? So for me, when I'm creating clip art in PowerPoint, I personally just use an A4 portrait page just like I have here. And the reason for that is because I have created clip art in the past in a landscape view. But what I had found is when I created the clip art in that landscape view, when I would save it as a piece of clip art and wanting to use it in, say, a portrait page, when I was to scale it up, it would lose the quality slightly. So it became a little bit blurry, and that's not something that I wanted. So I found that by creating my clip art in PowerPoint, using this A4 size has been the best for me personally, and the best that I have been able to see the quality retain itself. So that is one of the reasons why I choose an A4 piece of paper to start off when I create clip art. Okay, so now that you know the size that I usually use, I'm going to show you kind of an example here. So I've made this little snowman all in PowerPoint. So I'll show you, I can move him now because I've grouped him, but if I just right click and ungroup him, you'll be able to see all the little elements. You can kind of see these little parts can be moved around. This is all made in this program. So what I love honestly about PowerPoint, although it was never designed to be, as far as I'm aware, it was never designed to be made for clip art creation, PowerPoint has an amazing bank of shapes and tools that you can use here. If you just literally go up to here, insert shapes, all these amazing shapes allow you to create. Like, it's amazing because they are pre-made shapes and they're just there. They're so easy to, create with, which I love. I have compared this to something like Adobe Illustrator, for example, in the usability, and PowerPoint is so much easier to use. However, I want to just really say this straight up. Adobe Illustrator is a very powerful program, and that is a vector program. So that is something that has a lot more different capabilities than PowerPoint. Like I said, PowerPoint was never designed to make clip art in. But if you're a teacher or somebody that wants to create for their own self, and to put or make clip art for your own worksheets, then this is going to be a great thing for you to learn to do so that you can create your own clip art within PowerPoint to use in your own worksheets. So that's an amazing thing that PowerPoint allows you to do because of how easy it is to insert these shapes. So with that said, I want to just show you kind of how I go about my creation process and why I create my clip art starting off pretty big. Because as you can see, when you're looking at this little snowman fellow, he's pretty big. He's pretty much the same size as my piece of paper here, or my canvas, or my workspace, whatever you want to call it. For this video, I'll either call it canvas or workspace, and I just basically mean this piece of paper that I've got here. Now, the reason why I create my clip art big to begin with is because, like I was saying before, the clarity gets lost and it becomes a little bit more blurry when you create clip art at a small level to begin with. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this little fellow for a second next door. And I'm going to show you. So I've made this little fellow here. He's the same snowman as this one here, but he's just been downscaled. He's a bit smaller in size, as you can see. I've just got the X here to say don't start off creating clip art here in a small way if you're wanting to create it, especially if you're trying to create it to sell. So what I'm going to suggest, and I want to show you the reason why, is creating it in as big as possible that you can to begin with. Because I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to just save this fellow. So if I right click on him, save as picture, we're turning him into a piece of clip art right now. So I'm just going to save him as Snowman Big on my desktop. And we'll go and save little guy. So he has been created on a small level. I'm going to save him, save his picture, and we'll call him Snowman Small. And when I insert both of these, you'll see a difference in the actual quality when you zoom things up. So I want to show you this. So if I just go insert pictures, picture from file, and I'm just going to insert Snowman Big first. So this is the big fellow that you can kind of see. And I'm going to insert the little fellow as well. Little snowman. Here we go. So this is a little snowman. Okay, so the difference is, this is my big snowman. If I wanted to downscale him, that's fine. And he doesn't lose clarity. If I want to upscale him again, doesn't lose clarity. I can scale him up a bit bigger as well. And you can still see that he still retains a lot of the quality that he had to begin with. Whereas, now, I know this might be a minor thing to some people, but I hope you can see the difference when I scale this little fella up. So I made him small to begin with, and when I scale him up, let's just try and make them the same size. You'll see a noticeable blur. I hope at least you can see on this video. If you look at even if you just look at the nose, the carrot nose, for example, you can see there's some like blur happening here. And that's because when you make it so small, or you make it small to begin with, and when you're trying to like scale it up, it's going to lose a bit of that clarity. And that's why I like to start off creating my clip art at a bigger scale than starting off smaller. I'm going to zoom in here a bit further so you can kind of really get a good glimpse. So if you can see that, you can see how his nose is a bit jaggedy, is a little bit blurred. It's not retaining the same crispness. And if I scroll over, you can see the one that I began with and the one that I started off creating in a bigger clip art piece still has that clarity. And that's better for when you're choosing to scale it up and if you need it to be big in your projects. So that's just something to note. And I know when you're looking at it from far away, there's not a big difference. And it doesn't, honestly, from what I've found, when I've printed these guys out, like, it doesn't play a massive role in it, but it is noticeable on some things. So it's important to just start off with something bigger so then you can have the option to scale it up or down, whatever you like, without losing the quality as quickly, if that makes any sense. Okay, so with that said, I do want to talk about some questions that I have received here on YouTube. Let's just zoom out for a second. Okay, so now I'm going to answer these YouTube questions. So I've just screenshotted these from my YouTube channel just so I can talk about them here in this PowerPoint presentation. But hello to Maven Co. If you're watching, you asked the question, how do you convert your PowerPoint clip art to 300 dpi? And I also had another person, I'm not too sure how to read that, it's in a different language, but they asked how to export PNG 300 dpi. So I want to just kind of touch on this because first of all, I want to say, like I mentioned before, PowerPoint was never designed to be making clip art in. As far as I'm aware, that was not the sole purpose for PowerPoint. So when I get questions like this, how do you convert your PowerPoint clip art to 300 dpi? It's not an easy answer because it's not something that is naturally something that you can just do in PowerPoint. So as far as I'm aware, from what I have read, things export out of PowerPoint, and I don't know if this is just slides or if it is just like clip art images as well, but from what I've read, they export at a default of 96 dpi. Now, when you're asking these kind of questions like how do I do a 300 dpi, because when you are looking for clip art, you want it to be 300 dpi if you're using it for particular things. So there is a way, from what I've read, where you can adjust the settings within the actual like behind the scenes system registry. If you are a really technical savvy person and you know how to mess around with that behind the scenes type of thing, then you might be able to figure this out. For me personally, I didn't want to tamper or touch the behind the scenes of the actual program because I didn't want to mess it up, because if you do mess this up when you are like typing in the particular things to change it, you can mess your program up. And I didn't want to do that. I'm not tech savvy enough to be able to feel confident in messing around with that to be able to change the export feature on PowerPoint. So I've not done that. However, let's talk about 300 dpi quickly, because what is 300 dpi? If you are looking for clip art, like I was saying, it's good to aim to look for something that is 300 dpi. Now, like I just said, if you're creating clip art in PowerPoint, they're not going to be 300 dpi. So there has this kind of like problem here, especially if you're wanting to sell it. Now, the thing is, when you are creating clip art in PowerPoint, it really depends on the purpose that you want to use it. So before I talk about that, I just want to highlight what does 300 kind of dpi actually mean. So if you don't really know too much about clip art, you might not know this, but I'll try and break it down as best as I can. So 300 dpi, first of all, 300 is just the number, that's how much it is, and dpi stands for dots per inch. So you've got 300 individual dots per inch. That's what dpi stands for. So why do we need it? So basically 300 dpi is the standard print resolution for high resolution output when you are printing. The 300 comes along because the printer will output 300 tiny dots of ink per 1 inch. Now, over here in Australia, we use the metric system. I know I have a lot of US viewers, and so you guys use the imperial system. And so for us Aussies, 1 inch is about like 2.54 centimeters. So basically what it means is for us Aussies, or for you guys, 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters, you get about 300 little mini tiny dots of ink per that space. So that is the standard print resolution. So if you were having something that was 96 dots per inch, as you can imagine, there'd be 96 dots per inch or per 2.54 centimeters for us Aussies. So that is just something to kind of help that break down in your mind if you're wondering what the DPI actually means. So with that, like I was saying before, it really depends what the purpose of your clip art is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to answer this YouTube question here, and it is from Hesitant Concepts. Hello. And they say, it's All Primy's channel sent me to you from her latest video to ask your advice. That's really nice, Lorianne. Thank you very much. It's All Primary has an amazing channel about TPT stuff, and so that's very kind of her to come send you to me if you're asking about clip art. So thank you, Lorianne. That's kind. So you're asking, I'm trying to come up with an overall size to create the majority of my clip art. I know that there are a variety of sizes to create artwork, but I want one main size for creating, for example, a full human being character. With 7.5 times 7.5 inches, which fits in PowerPoint's widescreen default size of 16:9, 7.5 times 13.3 be okay. Okay, so there's a little bit of unpacking to do here with this particular question. So first of all, I'm going to get up the default size that you're talking about so we can just all have a look here. So file, just do new presentation, and you'll see this is the default size here. So I'm just going to move things around a little bit so we can kind of have a look. Okay, so this is the default size that I believe you're talking about. Now, like I said in the earlier part of this video, in Australia, we do use the metric system, so we use like centimeters and stuff like that. So when it comes to talking about inches, like it's not very, it's interesting when people talk about inches, but I know I have a lot of US viewers that would be using the imperial system for this kind of stuff. So anyway, from what I would say to answer this question, it really depends on what you're wanting to do with the clip art and what program you're actually working in. So to unpack your question, so you're wanting the one main size. You know that there are a variety of sizes that you can create artwork in, but you want one main size for creating a full human being character. That's a good thing to start off with, like to have a standard workspace that you work in, so it kind of keeps that consistency. So for me personally, now, like I said in the beginning of this video, I personally use the A4 portrait size canvas on PowerPoint. If you're creating in PowerPoint, that's how I create my PowerPoint clip art, but you didn't actually specify what program you're actually using. So you're saying 7.5 times 7.5 inches, which fits in PowerPoint's widescreen, which makes me believe you might be using a different program for your clip art. So the issue is if you are creating, like the canvas size isn't the biggest deal breaker, because when you export elements, no matter what particular program you're working in, it's usually in the form of a PNG and it won't take the background with it. Where you come into an issue is if you're wanting to create both or provide the options of both PNG and JPEG. That's where the issue comes in, because then you would want absolutely a size that is kind of consistent and doesn't have a lot of like white space around it. But it really depends obviously as well what type of clip art you're creating. Are you creating individual elements? Are you creating background clip art? Like what is it that you're creating is kind of my question. But in general, like if you're creating in a program, like if you are creating something like Procreate, what I use with Procreate, I generally just use the square option, and that's what I stick to for starting off each of my clip art. However, in the past, I have also used the A4 canvas size if I wanted to fit a bit more on my page. Like when I've done some of my clip art characters as well, I've done bigger page on that A4 page, so I get a bit more space to draw on. But like I said, it really depends on what you're kind of creating in and what you're actually wanting to create. It will be up to you. You as the clip artist will get to decide this. But if you are wanting to provide the option of PNG and JPEG, that's where you will kind of really need to think about what size. I would say that size would be fine if it fits into the PowerPoint widescreen, because regardless if you are doing it in something like Procreate, for example, as long as the DPI is at 300 DPI, it's going to be able to scale up and down. So you won't have any issues with that. Even Adobe Illustrator, they're vector. So vector meaning you can basically scale that up and down without having any loss of quality, basically. So Procreate is raster based. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch my What is Clip Art video. I really break that down as to what's raster versus vector. I break that down in that video if you wanted to know a bit more about it. However, if you're doing Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, the canvas size isn't going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be more so how you export it, which is going to be the most important thing for whether it can be used in what you want to use it for. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't think too deeply into the canvas size unless you are, again, like wanting to provide the JPEG option. With the JPEG option, I know for me, like I at one point I think did provide a JPEG version, but then I stopped doing that because what I found was, especially on TPT, if you're selling on TPT, other platforms might be different, but if you're selling on TPT in particular, the PNG version is all that teachers are really requiring, because they just want to use the clip art in their work. Like they want to create PowerPoint worksheets or worksheets in Canva and things like that, that they're not really going to be needing a JPEG image. I mean, some people do use the JPEGs, I'm not going to lie, but the majority of people are mostly just wanting the PNG version of that clip art. And so find a size. Literally, I would just say play around with it, see what feels comfortable to you, insert it into what you would use it in or what you have designed your clip art to be used in, and see how you go with that. So without trying to overly complicate it, if you're making it in PowerPoint at 7.5 times 7.5, I wouldn't recommend that because it's going to start quite small. If you're making this in a different program, then that may be fine depending on what you're kind of wanting to do with it. Like I said, if you want to do JPEG and PNG, if it's just PNG, I don't think you have any issues with doing it 7.5 times 7.5, and that would probably be a good start off position. But again, every clip artist is different. Everyone uses different things. So don't think it's like a one rule for all. Like, it's hard to kind of find this information. And I remember when I first started looking, certain people would use this, certain people would use that. And honestly, it came down to me playing around, feeling what was best for me, and just trial and error. So you don't need to be too pedantic about it, as long as you know when you export your stuff that there has the capability of exporting it in a way that can scale. And just be mindful, you don't want a massive canvas that's going to, make it a really big sized piece of clip art, if that makes sense. Like, the size of the actual clip art is something to be considerate of. That's just my recommendation, as again, this is all something that I've had to do trial and error for. No one has given me a handbook either to say what's okay, what's not, but I found success with playing around and just trialing it out, and that's what has worked for me. So hesitant concepts, I hope that answered your question. Don't overthink it. Just have a go, see what it looks like, create the clip art in that, and then export it out to what you would like, and maybe insert it into a PowerPoint presentation and see how it works. Try it out by printing it and see what happens to it, just so that would be kind of my advice for that. But it is good to kind of have a standard base canvas to work off, so you can kind of just not have to think about it too much and go to that canvas each time, and it just makes it easier. So having that standard size or like template is a good thing to do when you are creating clip art. Thanks for the question. Okay, so let's talk about the exporting. So I just mentioned in that question before, we did talk about PNG and JPEG. So basically, I want to show you the difference between these if you're sort of new to this. If you're not new to this, you know this already. But PNG basically stands for Portable Network Graphic, and that basically means you have a piece of artwork with a transparent background, whereas JPEG means Joint Photographic Experts Group, and it's basically got a solid white fill background. So I'm going to show you now by inserting a PNG and a JPEG version of my snowman that I created. And I'm going to show you that quickly here, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to export this guy, move up. So this fellow that we made, or that I made before filming this, I'm going to save him. So save as picture. I'm going to make him as a JPEG. So let's just do snowman JPEG, and I'll change him down here, JPEG, save him on my desktop, save, and you'll see the difference when I insert them. So we'll start off by inserting the PNG, and it will automatically, when you save as a picture, it will automatically go to default as PNG. So let's just select and you'll be able to see it too. If you're looking at the actual title, you can see snowmanbig.png. That's how you know it's the transparent background one. So I'm going to insert that, and I'm going to scale him down. So this is what the PNG, the portable network graphic, would look like. It has a transparent background, so I can see straight through that. There's no white fill in the background. I can layer it. This is what is good about a PNG versus a JPEG. So if I go insert pictures, picture from file, and I did the snowman JPEG, and you can see when I've inserted him, he has a white solid background. So I couldn't layer them. I couldn't do certain things. It's a bit more limited with this particular JPEG. And you do sometimes find JPEGs are a little bit lost, like have a lower quality in some of them. So compared to a PNG, like the capabilities of a PNG are a bit more versatile. So that is the difference of what they look like, PNG versus JPEG. But like I was saying, if you're selling particularly on TPT, it might be a bit different for other websites, but particularly TPT, a lot of people are looking for a PNG version. Some people, they might be wanting the JPEG, but it's probably more rarer that someone wants to have a JPEG version. I know myself personally, and I've bought clip art, I buy clip art often. It is not something that I look for a JPEG version of it, really. So the PNG versions are always what I look for, but never the JPEG. So that's just something to keep in mind. A lot of people they're not too fussed about having a JPEG version. But I guess for some people it might be nice to have if they use it for a particular thing. For me, all of the clip art sets I sell are only PNG. They don't have the JPEG version anymore. I'm going to show you at the very end of this video. So I want to show you what this looks like printed out. So this is the big guy that I made. I did scale him down, and I scaled him down even more here. And that was just the normal size that I made him, and I scaled him down here as the little one. I don't know if that made any sense to you guys, but basically what I'm just trying to say is when I show you the printout of what looks the best quality or what, it doesn't really matter too much if you're working within an A4 piece of paper, and I will show you that. You might see a little bit of difference, but from what I can show you compared to something like this, which I made and I drew in Procreate at 300 dpi. So this has been exported at 300 dpi. I will show you at the end what printing this sheet looks like. A couple last things before I go to my talking head. I do want to talk about if you are creating clip art in PowerPoint. Not everyone knows this, and I wanted to mention this in here because some people have asked about this in the past as well, like what license should I have for creating PowerPoint stuff. And so anyway, when you go to their website, and I'll try and link the website below for this so you can kind of just have a look and read what's best for you. Okay, so you've got 4 different plans. You've got the Microsoft 365 Business Basic, Microsoft 365 Apps for Business, Microsoft 365 Business Standard, and 365 Business Premium. So I've just color coded these so we can kind of get a better idea. So at one point, I believe that this one didn't have a commercial use license, but maybe I thought it didn't, but it actually did. But the reason why I don't have this one, so I don't choose the business basic one, because if you go down and you look at this one, so support and deployment, that is fine. It's got the license for commercial use, so hooray. However, if you go down further down here, desktop versions of Office apps for PC and Mac. So this one does not actually have the desktop version, so you'll only be able to use it online, as it doesn't provide you with it on desktop. And for me personally, I like to have PowerPoint on my desktop or on my computer, so I'm not just using it online. So that's the reason why I don't do this one. So you can basically choose whatever you want within these two for what you need in your actual business. So the one that I have got at the moment is actually the 365 Business Standard, but I think honestly I'm going to have to downgrade because I'm looking at these and they have pretty much the similar things for what I need. They both have the desktop version for Office app for PC and Mac. So I think because I'm pretty sure I'm paying $18 something at the moment for mine, and I think, to be honest, I could probably actually even downgrade to this one, as they have pretty much the same things. It's only slightly different with security and compliance, and I'll have to look further into that to see which one I want. But yeah, like I said, to use it for commercial use, you'll see it in support deployment. This one is fine, but it is only an online version if you're paying this amount. Whereas when you've got the apps for business, the $12 one, I mean, mind you too, this is Australian dollars, so yours might be slightly different in your currency if you are from not from Australia. So for me to use PowerPoint at the moment, I'm pretty sure I'm paying about $18 something with the GST included, because it says prices here shown here, and on following pages do not include GST. So I'm pretty sure I pay this one, but I think I'm actually going to downgrade to this one because they have very similar options, and they both still here, the apps for business and standard, have the commercial use. So I'd probably say, if I was to recommend one, I would say probably this one for what you need it for. So that is that. A few last little recommendations before I see you in my talking head, or just some last things to note. So what I would recommend, if you're working in PowerPoint, to create your clip art, keep it to the A4 portrait vertical slide, just like what we've got here. The programs, PowerPoint is fine for worksheets. So basically, if you're making clip art in PowerPoint to be used for worksheets, it's going to print out fine without having it to be 300 dpi. But you have to make sure that you're making them at the size that you want them printed out, or making them larger, like I was saying before, if you're inserting them into your workspace, if you've just made the clip art. All right, so for programs now, Like I was saying before, if you're making clip art to be used in PowerPoint worksheets to be printed for your students or anything like that, it's going to be fine making them in PowerPoint, especially if you're making them for yourself. But when you are making them for other people, or if you're choosing to sell, it's not something that I would necessarily recommend as such. I mean, you absolutely can, but for me personally, because of the whole 300 DPI situation that PowerPoint doesn't deliver, I saved up enough money through making my teaching resources that eventually I upgraded to have a better program to actually create clip art in, and that was Procreate. So I invested in that, and I also pay for the Adobe Creator Cloud subscription at the moment as well. So there's a few things now that I'm only a couple $100 per month that I pay for out of my money that I earn from the business. So I use that towards the business as well, if that makes any sense. But what I would suggest, like if you're making PowerPoint to sell, utilize these tips that I've said if you can, because making it bigger is going to be much better than making it smaller. Because if you're selling clip art that you've made at a small scale and someone goes to like enlarge it, you're going to find that the clip art's going to be blurry, and then you'll have like upset customers with you. And I want to show you a prime example of this actually, and this is why I'm saying where I'm coming from, trial and error. I want to show you one of my very first kind of clip art things that I've released on my very first store. Okay, so I just want to show you here on my first store. This is one of the things that I wanted to show you. Like, it has been trial and error for me, because I haven't taken these down yet, and I probably should, but I want to show you. So these little fellows that I made, they've got a little girl version of these, so they're free. But what I found, this is, again, like I'm saying, trial and error. I'm going to download this. I'm going to show you. So people, they download, this is a clip art that I made in PowerPoint. So I'm just going to download that. Okay, so I'm going to just show you here. So this is clip art that I made when I first kind of started on my first store. So the trial and error process, like you'll see what I mean by why I decided to figure out that I need to make them bigger. Because look here. This little fella, he's super cute. He's fine as he is at that size. That is absolutely fine. You could use him. You could do whatever you wanted with that. But if somebody or the user wanted to actually make him like quite big, you'll notice, and you can see, like if I zoom up, you can see how blurry that is. So making your clip art so small is not going to help the clarity of it. You really need to start off bigger, so then someone, when they downscale it or want to make it bigger, it's going to still remain clear. That's one of those things that I learned over time. And so you can see here, like this is a desperately needed to be updated, but because it's free, I haven't bothered, honestly. But you can see I made these little guys in PowerPoint, and if you look at my terms of use, like it's actually embarrassing. Like, look at this, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, and I do not have that logo anymore, and it's just, I do not know what I was doing. This is like one of the first things I uploaded. So I've come a long way, you guys, and when I compare that to kind of like some of the stuff I'm working on now, like this is a new thing that I'm working on, like with some boho, cool trees and stuff like that. The clip art's a lot different. Even my like whole terms of use, when I compare that terms of use to this terms of use, like, oh my goodness. So literally you can see here like the progress that has happened over here. This is my old terms of use to the right. How embarrassing, like, honestly. And then this is my new, terms of use, my more newer terms of use. So you can see there's a lot more difference when it comes to, that sort of thing. So yeah, you can see I've come a long way so far with the actual development of my clip art and my clip art store. So again, that is something that I've literally not updated, which I probably should, but like, because it was free, I didn't bother. And as I was saying before too, like PowerPoint is such a strong, powerful tool as well, but was never designed for clip art. So it's easy to make clip art in PowerPoint, which is amazing, but yeah, it's just good to know that if you have the funds, like I would probably suggest making or, saving up to get a better, a higher quality program like Procreate or Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or Krita or Inkscape or Affinity Design. I listed a few here actually. I'm not somebody that has training in it. I've learned this all on my own. So this is another reason why I create these videos, to basically help anyone that's wanting to kind of do this kind of stuff. But over time, like I said, it's better if you can upgrade to this, because you'll feel better as a clip artist providing the best quality stuff. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with making clip art in PowerPoint. For myself personally, I just really wanted to level up and I wanted to be able to provide a bit more high quality stuff. So that's why I wanted to, invest in an iPad and Procreate and all that kind of stuff. And I do pay for the Creative Cloud subscription. So I do have Adobe Illustrator, but I'm just waiting for a bit more time. As you know, time can be a bit scarce with a little one at home at the moment. So I can only do what I can do, but I hope that's sort of helped. And my best advice really is do your own research. Like, this is just my personal experience, what I have found. Like I said, I'm not trained in any of this, you guys. I'm just a girl from Australia that loves clip art, that literally loves creating clip art, loves creating resources for teachers. And I was a teacher. I'm just not currently teaching at the moment. And this is kind of what has led me into doing this. Once my son was born, like, I've been home a lot, and some of you know the story. I'm not going to go on and on and on, but basically that's kind of led me to now having this trial and error experience through creating clip art and wanting to share this with you guys and share it with YouTube and whoever else needs it. Just a side note here, you guys. This was the piece of paper that I printed out that I wanted to show you. And I'll just zoom up really quick, but you can see with the PowerPoint clip art, it's not so different to the 300 dpi clip art. So that's side by side. And to me personally, it looks okay. It looks fine. It doesn't look like there's any crazy things to it that was going to be like a deal breaker for somebody as a teacher printing it out. So yeah, just wanted to show you that really quick. Alrighty guys, so they're just some things I want you to consider if you're thinking about making clip art or if you're wanting to make clip art in PowerPoint. PowerPoint is an amazing tool. I truly love PowerPoint, and I've got such an appreciation of PowerPoint actually in the last couple of years because of what it actually can do. And I just love PowerPoint. It's easy to use, it's really intuitive, and especially when you're wanting to create clip art, it is fun to be able to play around with all those cool shapes and create something for yourself. And if you're wanting to create something and you don't want to pay for something, or you don't have the funds right now to buy clip art, then this is a fun way that you can kind of create something for yourself and put it in your own worksheets, and then you can put up for sale on the internet. So thank you for the questions. Just know I'm not an expert. I'm still learning on this journey too. So if I find anything else out, then I will also update you guys. But I have got a little bit of experience. I might be one step ahead of some of you guys out there, so I'm able to help. But I'm just a girl from Australia that has a passion for clip art, but also has done a lot of trial and error. So if you like these PowerPoint tutorials, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, just so I know that you guys are liking this stuff, because it helps when I'm like, oh, okay, people are liking this video, they actually want to see more of this kind of stuff. So thank you once again, good luck with what you're creating, and do some more PowerPoint videos of course, and some more PowerPoint tutorials. They are upcoming, but if you have any suggestions that you want to know a bit more about a particular thing, yeah, feel free to just leave it down below. Alrighty, you guys, thanks once again, and for all the people that take the time to leave a comment, I do appreciate you guys. I do read all of them, and it makes me smile when, some of the things that I'm posting actually helps people out there. So thank you, and I will see you in my next video. Adios!